This is the top 10 steroid busts in MMA. Number 10. Hector Lombard. Hector Lombard was in line for a welterweight title shot after he beat Josh Burkman at UFC 182, but all hopes of fighting for the title were gone after his post-fight drug test came back positive for steroids. Lombard tested positive for desoxymethyltestosterone. Lombard denied knowingly taking any illegal substances and claims a friend gave him the drug.
Do you mind saying who this person was?
She's a friend or a friend. Her name is Julie. And I can't even pronounce her last name. She's like, oh, this pill, like, you can take it over the counter and stuff like that. But obviously I was wrong.
The Athletic Commission didn't buy his story and suspended him for 1 year, fined him $106,000, and reversed his win over Josh Burkman. Number 9. Tim Sylvia. Tim Sylvia successfully defended his championship belt by knocking out Gan McGee at UFC 44, but was stripped of the title after failing his post-fight drug test. Sylvia tested positive for stanozolol, a synthetic anabolic steroid. Tim admitted using the illegal substance and apologized. He received a 6-month suspension and a $10,000 fine from the Nevada Athletic Commission and returned to MMA 9 months later. Number 8. Krys Santos. After a 16-second knockout win in 2011, Krys Cyborg Santos tested positive for stanozolol. She is thought to be the only woman who can challenge Ronda Rousey, but the failed test put a halt to any title aspirations she had, as Rousey refuses to fight her now.
Stop taking fucking steroids and make weight.
Do you think she still takes steroids?
Cyborg was fined $2,500 and suspended for 1 year. She denies intentionally taking steroids, claiming she only took a dietary supplement to help cut weight. Number 7. Stephan Bonnar. Stephan Bonnar failed his first drug test following a UFC 62 loss to Forrest Griffin, claiming he needed the anabolic steroid to speed up recovery for an elbow injury. He was fined $5,000 and suspended for 9 months. Bonnar tested positive a second time for steroids after losing to Anderson Silva in the main event of UFC 153. He announced his retirement after the results were made public and was suspended for a year but did not receive a fine. Bonnar tested positive for boldenone and drostanolone.
It is my honor to induct you into the UFC Hall of Fame. Congratulations, boys.
Number 6. Vitor Belfort. Vitor Belfort failed his post-fight drug test following a loss to Dan Henderson at Pride 32. He tested positive for anabolic steroid 4-hydroxytestosterone and was fined $10,000, and then he was suspended for 9 months. Belfort blames the failed test on vitamins he bought over the counter at a local supplement store. Number 5. Sherk and Hermes Franca. At UFC 73, Sherk took on Hermes Franca in a lightweight title fight. Sherk retained his title winning by unanimous decision, but in a shocking outcome, both fighters' drug tests came back positive for steroids. Sherk for nandrolone and Franca for drostanolone. Franca was fined $2,500 and suspended for 1 year. Sherk was given the same punishment but appealed the decision, claiming supplements he bought from GNC were contaminated with the banned substance.
I had so much evidence to show that I did not take nandrolone, and the commission wasn't big enough to admit that they were wrong. The UFC saw how much evidence I had. I went out of my way to prove myself innocent. I had absolutely nothing to hide.
Sherk's suspension was reduced to 6 months in light of the evidence presented to the commission. Number 4. Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett has tested positive for steroids 3 times. The first offense was after a win over Bobby Hoffman at UFC 34. He wasn't punished for the failed test, but given a warning. He tested positive once more after winning the heavyweight title at UFC 36. Barnett was suspended for 6 months and stripped of the championship belt. Then again in 2009, 11 days before he was set to fight in the main event of Affliction against Fedor Emelianenko, Barnett failed a pre-fight drug test for drostanolone. Affliction had to cancel the entire event, and the organization completely folded after Barnett's failed test. Number 3. Ken Shamrock. MMA pioneer Ken Shamrock failed a drug test following his 2009 win over Ross Clifton. Shamrock tested positive for nandrolone. This was Ken's first failed test since starting his MMA career in 1993. Ken denied knowingly taking the banned substance and was fined $2,500 and suspended for 1 year by the California Athletic Commission.
I never entered into the ring while using steroids. I was never in the ring and fought with steroids, ever. Just to get that clear. But I have used steroids in the past. So I just want to make sure that we got that clear.
Number 2, Hoist Gracie. In one of the most surprising steroid busts, Hoist Gracie tested positive for nandrolone after a win over Kazushi Sakuraba in 2007. Hoist denies using the steroid, stating, "I have no idea what they're talking about."
Obviously there's some controversy after the Sakuraba fight. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened then?
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Ken Shamrock also tested positive for steroids recently. Do you think that there's a lot of pressure on fighters as they get older to try and sort of keep their bodies going?
Man, Ken Shamrock, man, come on. Look at him from the beginning.
Gracie competed in the very first UFC event, claiming Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is all you need to win a fight. Hoist was fined $2,500 and suspended for a year for the failed test. He hasn't competed since.
How could a 185-pound man defeat men much stronger and bigger? We will learn it was a family secret.
Number 1, Anderson Silva. Regarded as the best fighter of all time, it was a complete surprise to everyone when former middleweight champion Anderson Silva tested positive for 2 different steroids, drostanolone and androsterone. Silva failed his pre-fight test but was still allowed to fight Nick Diaz at UFC 183. Silva also failed his post-fight test and has denied taking the steroids. In Silva's last fight, he broke his leg against Krys Weidman, and it's assumed he took the steroids to help recover from the injury. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe.